Good afternoon, Father. This is Svetlana, Moscow region. May I ask you, why the Russian Orthodox Church does not approve reading the works of Helena Blavatsky and Helena Roerich? Would you come to our studio? We could open the secret doctrine on any page. According to text, I could ask Blavatsky any question. The main one is, where from have you taken all this? She may answer, from God. I would then ask her, from which God? It is not our Holy Trinity. No, it's something else. That is why Helena Blavatsky is a messenger of Satanism, as well as the whole Roerich family, especially Helena Roerich. Good message. The Book of John, chapter 9. Parable about the blind who received his sight. They said unto him, How were thine eyes opened? He answered, A man that is called Jesus made clay, and anointed my eyes, and said unto me, Go and wash. And I went and washed, and I received my sight. Then said some of the Pharisees, This man is not of God. They said to him again, What did he to thee? How opened he thine eyes? He answered them, I have told you already, and ye did not hear. Wherefore would ye hear it again? Will ye also be his disciples? Then they reviled him and said, Thou art his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spake unto Moses. As for this fellow, we know not from whence he is. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was born on 12 August 1831 in Novorussia in the city of Yekaterinoslavl, established by Count Potemkin. In that year, the most severe epidemic raged in Russia, Asian cholera. Whole settlements became extinct, towns were devastated. Even a brother of Tsar Nicholas I, Great Duke Konstantin Pavlovich, fell a victim. Cholera revolts began. In Petersburg, a furious crowd committed devastation. Being afraid of bloodshed, Nicholas I addressed citizens. Verily, it is shameful for Russian people to imitate violence of Frenchmen and Poles. Crowd fell on their knees. The Tsar called up an elder, kissed him, and then left. Birth of Helena Petrovna in this threefold tragic time resembles intention of the spirit. From her first till last breath, she was involved in the battle of forces, and it was her destiny, but not the mission. The child was born prematurely. First dead were mourned at the estate. Coffins were made for the future. For the next day after the birth, on the 13th August. On a stuffy August day, baptism ceremony was held at the home church. 2-year-old Nadia, an auntie of the newly born, holding a burning candle, got too tired and sleepy and burned the priest's cassock. It happened when godparents were renouncing Satan, 3 times spitting to his side. There exists something crossing the limits of religions, a divine force that creates them. Her look slides over the seized waters of the saved soul. With this daughter, touched by my breath, everything will be fine. It's morning. A day promises to be wonderful as the childhood of Helena, spent on the banks of Volga River, near Saratov city, in the estate of her grandfather, Andrei Mikhailovich. Aroma of meadow herbs permeated the depths of surrounding space. Breathing was so easy. A small girl, encouraged by nobody, from infancy receives insights in her consciousness. From Memoirs of her sister Vera Zhelichovsky. 10 versts away from the governor's estate was a wide earth strip, once being a sea bottom. Hardened remains of shells, herbs, fishes, and some monsters unknown to us could be found there. Helena stretched out fully on the sand, propping up her chin with the palms, dreamt aloud in bright visions. She narrated about the wondrous life of a sea bottom, how azure waves slide over the golden sand, about the bright corals and stalactite caves. And once she suddenly jumped on her feet with amazement, enthusiasm, and horror on her face. Helena cried, "Water! Look! The wave rolls on us! It is closer and closer! It hangs over us! The sea came! The sea! We sink!" And with a shout full of horror and admiration, she crashed down to the sand. Other kids fell down after her, crying and covering heads with their hands. "Helen, why are you scaring the children? Some of them still cry." It is a grandmother, Helena Pavlovna Fadeev, the knee Duchess Dolgorukov. Family tree of HPB is connected with the aristocratic dynasties of France, Russia, and Germany. Her father, Peter Alexeyevich von Hahn, came from the clan of German knights. From her mother lineage, she belonged to the branch of legendary Rurikovs. Dolgorukov's clan originated from the Holy Duke Mikhail Chernigovsky, executed in Golden Horde for his refusal to worship pagan gods. Helena's mother, well-known writer, author of 9 novels, soon passed away. The girl was further raised by her grandmother, widely educated woman who knew 5 languages. She wrote books on botanic, archaeology, geology, history, folklore. Her archive is impressive. 1 volume of Malorussia songs, 4 volumes of drawings of the Russian military, armor, weaponry, military suits, and also the ancient utensils. 8 volumes of poetry, ballads, and parables, 17 volumes of botanics, 10 volumes of drawings of the butterflies, insects, and birds. Strength of the spirit of knowledge is immeasurable, able to turn habitual and mundane into a freshness and charm. Small Helena's sight slid through the space into the other worlds, where butterflies were becoming the heralds and guards of eternity, protectors of the golden pollen of knowledge. They carry her on their wings, pouring a rain of golden pollen over her. Helena loved so much this huge old house, full of secrets and ghosts. There were many staircases inside, corridors, and mysterious rooms. From her memoirs. My great-grandfather from maternal side, Duke Pavel Vasilievich Dolgorukov, had a strange library containing hundreds of volumes on alchemy, magic, and occult sciences. These books looked at me with the glance of centuries. I read them with deepest interest, and soon neither Paracelsus nor Agrippa or Knuthard could teach me anything more. From Memoirs of Vera Zhelichovsky. We sat for hours, captured by her fantastic stories. Stretched on a favorite effigy of a big seal called Tim, she narrated his adventures as if told by himself, in such bright colors that even adults were involuntarily attracted by narration. Once, passing by, her grandmother heard voices behind the door. One was Helena's, and other belonged to some unknown man, apparently old and sick. He coughed all the time. Grandmother slightly opened the door and almost fainted. Her granddaughter Helena sat on the sofa, and down at her feet was laying the seal, alive. Raising his mustache muzzle, he narrated something, coughing time to time. Hardly breathing for fear, grandmother closed the door, rushed to her icons, and began to pray. Calmed down, grandmother came back, and with a roaring bell in her heart, opened the door. Helena slept on the seal, and he was embracing her. "It only seemed to me," she murmured. But after several years, narrating this story, having made me to swear silence, she whispered, "No, nothing seemed to me. They sat both of them there, Lelia on the sofa and seal on the floor." I myself had such abilities from the age of 4, recollected Blavatsky. Invisible beings torrentially rushed around me, and only a light whiff was betraying their presence. I used to tell them, "Welcome, dear friends. I open my heart to you, and you send me a help from your beautiful dimensions." Lelia, finally I found you. Oh, all these pigeons around you." I put them to bed. In amazement, Vera watched dozens of birds who slept around her sister. Others crowded near. "Do you know their secret?" And Helena's heart, during these lonely, hardly won 3 minutes, trembled with hope, intrinsic for youth, hope for a freedom, and flight of a bird. Sounded the final accord of her childhood. The family was shifting to the place of a new appointment in Transcaucasia. Helena was telling goodbye to her old house, to her beloved closets, the halls of freedom, as she called them, where, being alone, she read the old legends, Solomon's parables. Eternity was becoming the wholeness, happiness, a chalice filled with nectar, and she drank it with full gulps. In this subtle stream, an image of her patron, was present invisibly, in inspiration, feeling, and thought. Great is the day you enter, great is the day you leave behind. In 1847, Fadeyev's family shifted to Tiflis and settled in a spacious estate of Duke Alexander Chavchavadze. Fadeyev's circle of connections and acquaintances was huge. Visits, receptions, balls, talks about marriage drove Helena to despair. Later, she wrote in her diary, "A woman finds her happiness in acquisition of supernatural powers. Love is just a bad dream and nonsense." Heir of a courageous in the past clan, she inherited spirit of a warrior, a fiery strength, demanding action. Having saddled a horse, escaping to open spaces, breathing a mountain air, and looking to distance, toward shining tops, where human thoughts come closer to God's. Sharp, majestic forms of Caucasus mountains, rustle of waterfalls, were bringing the call, still not clear or distinct, but exciting and abiding. Spiritual maturity of Helena, her ethical depths, allowed her to realize early that the only real actor in the theater of life is the spirit. In these images, Helena passionately searched a signal from the soul of things in the form of a gesture or unexpected word, from Memoirs of her aunt Nadezhda. Once, a governess with challenge declared that because of her character, Helena will never get married. Even an old man, Blavatsky, whom she considers a wretched crow, won't marry her. Helena stood still, light of the afternoon sun reflected in her semi-covered eyes. They flashed rebellious sparks. On the warrior path, women do not argue. They allow everything to happen when there is a special goal, when all is weighed and verified, and then cast it away. "We shall see," whispered Helena, "whether I like it or not." 3 days after, during reception where Blavatsky was also present, Helena addressed him in front of everybody. "Nikifor Vasilievich, you are single, and I'm a marriageable girl. Marry me." Silence covered the hall, and Helena, receiving Blavatsky's consent, left. Wedding ceremony took place on 7 July 1849 at the Armenian church in Jalal-Ogli town. Concluding part of drama begins. Everything settled, Helena's appearance is in the first act. She is the main hero. Within 3 weeks, she will be 18. The bridegroom, Nikifor Vasilievich Blavatsky, 40 years of age, officer on special duties to the governor of Tiflis. "You have to esteem your husband and obey him," sounded the words of a priest from the altar. Helena turned pale. "Of course not," she murmured through her clenched teeth. Helena's sister concludes this story. The same day after the lunch, newlyweds started for mountain settlement of Dachechilak. Reaching first mountain ledge, everybody halted. Lelia waved her scarf. Kurds lifted their shaggy peaks as a farewell sign. Some of them fired from their guns, and the train left. I cried bitterly. It was a first, sad separation, the end of childhood, adolescence, the end of everything so dear to me. The very next day after the wedding, Helena attempted to escape. She failed. From that moment, Helena was everywhere accompanied Safar Ali Beg Ibrahim Begogli. He was too reliable security guard. Thought of escape was excluded for a long time. Blavatsky's claims to marital duties of his wife were justified, but unthinkable for Helena. She did not quite belong to this world, and through a fierce desire for freedom, she moved her perception beyond morality and feelings. On this path, she knew how to wade. The landscape surrounding her offered an image of calmness and tranquility. The mountains shielded her with their protection. The Kurdish guard narrated to her the legends about his tribe, mysterious and wandering. Mount Ararat towered above them with its biblical greatness. Helena does not grieve. She is joyful. Her joy comes from the acceptance of her destiny and her coming future path. After 3 months of staying in confinement, Helena succeeded to run away. She recollected. I had never become a wife of Blavatsky. I will swear till death about it, in spite of staying with him 3 months under one roof. At 18 years of age, Helena accomplished an impudent enterprise, total breakup with the past, departure from Russia, and beginning of a great search. In Kerch, Helena cheated servants accompanying her and stepped aboard English sailing vessel Commodore. At night, the ship headed for Constantinople. Freedom, the wind of freedom, the breeze of hope. It flew from elevated heights, awakening a new note which couldn't be easily recognized in the plains. The voice of the master. For the last time, embrace your dear ones. Embrace them from your very depth, because at this moment you are crossing the line, separating spirit from the matter. In the lists of lives, your name is summoned. Your path is outlined in this beautiful and furious world. No one laying his hand upon the plough and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. The Holy Gospel of Luke. The riddle of the era. The Sphinx of the 19th century. The messenger of Shambhala. The messenger. The message. At the time of a global flood, when Noah's Ark plowed the waters of a boundless ocean, and the water wasn't subsiding yet, a dove brought the message of salvation, an olive branch. From remote depths of time and space, Blavatsky brought the message about the masters of wisdom. For the first time, they revealed their planetary existence to the world and pronounced their names. Master Moria, Master Kudhumi, It was an act of a cosmic creation, proclaiming to the world a new era of knowledge, in which religion and science should become one, religion of a new body and renewed spirit. The masters chose Blavatsky to be their terrestrial voice. She will require long 20 years of discipleship before her voice starts sounding a purified note, and she will cross this path to the last span, enchanted and breathless. Constantinople, the Millennium capital of one existed Byzantine Empire. Conquered by Turkic tribes in the 15th century and becoming a cradle of several civilizations with rich and saturated culture. Early childhood of Helena was spent in the midst of stern soldiers commanded by her father, Colonel Peter Alexeyevich von Hahn. Soldiers were her nurses, and before learning to walk, she was already sitting in the saddle. Later, on field exercises, headlong, she galloped on the first available Cossack horse. Now, this experience became helpful. Being in a foreign country, without friends and documents, needing means of livelihood, she easily got a job in a local circus and performed in equestrian numbers there. Helena Petrovna recollected, "In Constantinople, I badly needed some money and planned to earn 1,000 coins reward for a horse racing steeplechase winner at the racetrack. 18 jumps on a wild racer that have just killed 2 stablemen. I was able to overcome 16 barriers, but just before the 17th one, my horse suddenly reared, overturned on his back, and crushed me. The last thing I saw was a man of a huge growth, dressed not in a Turkish style, pulling out from under horse bloody clothes. I remember his face. I've seen it before. This strength is familiar to me from my childhood." The sun has turned to the west. Cloudless sky was evenly flooded by an orange golden glow. When the sun touches the horizon, you should be quiet and filled with strength. You stand where you ought to stand. The following can become your plan. Choose something and call it the beginning. Stand face to face with the beginning, allowing it to lead you. If you have an intention, the Spirit will show a proper time, extent, and forms of exploration. Start right now. In Constantinople, Helena was strongly impressed by whirling dervishes. Rotating around the axis, they fall in trance with their spirit liberated from pressure of a physical body. The founder of this religious mystical sect was Jalal ad-Din Rumi, a 13th century Persian poet and philosopher. His poem, The Hidden Essence, is considered a sacred book after the Quran. Rumi perfected dervishes' dance, adding it a meditational character. Various schools of mystical Sufism later proceeded from this practice. Helena Petrovna admired artistic subtlety of the Sufis' ritualistic techniques based on rotational and vibrational forces of the universe. wisdom and madness in this dance is one and the same. On the path of love, a friend and by-going stranger is one and the same. Once you drank the wine of oneness, what will be your creed? You address everybody, a brother. Jalal ad-Rumin. Who wants to win, take not a sword, take the power of Allah, saying from the Quran. I give you a new commandment, love one another. The Gospel of John. It was the call, illumination, the first serious lesson of discipleship, when all-conquering power of love raised Helena to that pinnacle of happiness where the creating one meets the creator. Once you drank the wine of oneness, what will be your creed? You address everybody, a brother. In Constantinople, Helena got acquainted with Countess Kiselova, and further they traveled together. In her letter to Synod, Blavatsky wrote, "In India, I was in a man's suit. In the same outfit, I traveled across Egypt with an old Countess Kiselova. She even liked seeing me dressed as a student, sort of student chevalier, as she used to say. Images and symbols of bygone eternities. Priests and priestesses of the majestic temples of antiquity attracted her with a hidden force and vague, unclear sign of pertaining to spiritual reality. Helena crossed the youth Rubicon, and its curtain came down. Another life began, a passionate thirst for knowledge, thirst to know the habits and customs of peoples, search for truth and honor. Once Helena recollected, I traveled across the desert with one Copt, a white magician. At the night halt I admitted, I really want to have a cup of French coffee with milk. Sure, if you like so. Magician went towards the loaded camel and returned with a cup of coffee. With delight I drank my coffee in small sips, telling joyfully there wasn't better coffee even in Paris. Magician watched in silence. But what happened? Coffee disappeared. There was water in the cup. Picture that unfolded in front of your eyes was the repository of strength. Fog, darkness, storm, fire, desert, parts of the battle of power. Above all, we live in the world of energy. Only after that, in the world of things. Yes, we are of flesh and blood, and still, from light and spirit. Never forget, each person contains everything. Only he alone is the creator of his own path. Tell me in the morning, in the hour of the rising sun, what has been done for eternity, for the sun, for the life. When the searching one experiences the sun's rays and hypersolar beams, his confidence will get stronger. American professor Rawson wrote in his book Two Madame Blavatskys, "During my travels on the Middle East, I often heard her name in Tripoli, Damascus, Jerusalem, Cairo. Blavatsky was interested in mystic section of the Lebanese Druzes. The main religious doctrine of the Druzes consists in abstract oneness of the God. With me, she talked about such things which are known only to those who received their initiation. In her article, Lamas and Druzes, Blavatsky herself writes, "It is extremely strange that both Lamas and Druzes have the same statistics. They calculate the age of the greater part of mankind as 1,333,000,000 years. When good and evil get balanced on the scales of human acts, then the breath of wisdom in the blink of an eye will sweep away 666 million people from the face of the earth. Remaining 666 million people will have wisdom incarnated in them." There must be an allegorical meaning laid down in this. The inner circle of her travels was coming to an end. Spiritual revelations were followed by unclear feelings of sorrow and expectation. In her letter to Duke Dundukov, Blavatsky wrote, "In Athens, Egypt, the Euphrates, wherever I went, I searched for my astral gem. I lived among whirling dervishes, Druzes of Livan mountain, Marabutians of Damascus, but I have never found it." Stone is an allegory. There was a search for the master. Without a shadow of a doubt, she knew about the reality of his existence, because the lines of their lives crossed well before she was born. Search for the unknown turned her way north. What a beautiful force directs those travelers, wanderers. "I'm just a wanderer on the earth," are the words of a Russian romance. "I'm just a wanderer on the earth among the toil, struggle, and pain. A chosen one in happy share, I sing the song of love and will to the beauty, to the shrine of mine." In Paris, Blavatsky stayed for a while with her friend, the Countess Bagration Mukhtarsky. In May 1851, they both shifted to London and settled in the Hotel Mayavarts. The first World Industrial Exhibition. The city became an extraordinary spectacle. The world has seen nothing like this before. The pavilion Crystal Palace of 1 million square feet accommodated over 100,000 exhibits. Within several months, the pavilion was visited by more than 6 million people. It was itself an outstanding exhibit, a sample of the creative genius, a promise of the golden age. Architect Le Corbusier would say about it in the 20th century, "I couldn't take my eyes off from its triumphant harmony." At the opening of the exhibition spoke Queen Victoria. "We live in the era of great changes. Wonders of technological progress destroy the borders between peoples, and we should hope sincerely that the closeness of peoples will lead to peace and harmony on the whole planet." After visiting the exhibition, Countess Bagration-Akhtarsky continued her journey alone. Helena remained in London. She got a premonition. Receiving money from her father, she shifted to another hotel and froze in anticipation. In her diary she wrote, "Suffering from everything, tired of the poor Countess Bagration. I slipped onto the Waterloo Bridge, experiencing a strong desire to die. This temptation has been growing, and this time I did not try to resist. Dirty waters of the Thames seemed to me a desirable bed." Unforgettable. On 12th August 1851, I met Master M from my dreams. It was her birthday. Helena became 20. In her letter to Sinet she wrote, "I saw him twice. First time he was in a team of Indian delegation. He came out of the crowd and told me to wait in Hyde Park. Second time, in Hyde Park. His voice sounded a note familiar for years. Glitter of a sword in your struggle has been noticed by us. We need you. We do not promise you earthly happiness. We promise you will give your heart to the highest. Your destiny will be connected with India, but it would happen later, after 28-30 years. By now, you go and learn about this country." A flock of birds noisily rose into the sky. Birds flew and disappeared in the east in the direction of the first beam of dawn, proclaiming the end of a night and the beginning of a new. And daring in its primordial beauty, the nature of North America fascinates the soul. Stone legends narrate about the disappearance of the whole continents and early human races. These places sheltered the best ancient warriors. Till now their spirit is an imperishable, hot and fit force, directed towards the God of the world and beauty. They will name themselves the people of the wolf. During the day, they will flee from the nastiness of human madness. And during the night they will contemplate the pale face of the moon and weep out their sorrows about the lost freedom and forgotten spear and sword. This is how the history of the Toltec warriors began. For thousands of years they led their people. The faithful dogs of the universe, they stood as the guardians of the portals of the other world. Their night vision, ghostly movement in the shadows, passion for one life were instilling fear. Their world is known as the world of Atlantis, the most prosperous of the peoples ever inhabiting the earth. from the depths of silence and emptiness, poured out his legend, addressing the wind, and, as if responding to this call, the wind was gathering strength. It whistled in the grass stems, reaching the ear of Helena, and she slowed down her steps. At the end of her life, Helena Petrovna started to work on the third volume of the Secret Doctrine, the evolution of the human races on the earth. This work remained unfinished because by the decision of the masters, she had to leave urgently her old, outworn body and change it to a new and a young one. The legend remained incomplete. Helena was discovering America for herself. The primitive world of nature of the oldest American continent stretched for thousands of kilometers from north to south, time being its only painter. In her diary, Helena wrote, "The nature in its essence is religious. Its greatness is a reward for our sufferings." The sunny day was bright, with a clear sky and fresh wind. The soul was dreaming, forgetting about time, as if hanging in the depths of space. This world, this earth. There is no greater love for a warrior, and the earth knows it and showers him with gifts. In this cosmic ritual, the deity in man perceives the deity in nature. A stone, a blade of grass, a star, a tree, writers and fallen sisters and brothers, all are the parts of one wholeness. When the warrior hears singing birds, he joins the song. Seeing insect dying in the mouth of a lizard, he experiences the suffering of insect and the lizard's triumph. Helena entered the stream in which everything is alive, everything illuminated. Inhale, breathe, and the creative spirit of the universe will breathe with you, imbuing you with easiness. Lake of the Spirit, roundish, surrounded by flowers. A swan appears from it, the bird of life. The second swan accompanies the first one. They swim and dive, mixing green and blue waters. Waters of life and knowledge, flowing from the throne of eternity. Silence, boundless, deep and compelling. In its softly billowing waves, swans float away. The moment will not repeat, but the strength remained, manifested from the stillness, ready to serve others. Helena proclaimed it to be her world. Nations and races have disappeared from the face of the earth. Names of the heroes were imprinted in the chronicles of life in order to teach an old new lesson of the eternal brotherhood. In the oncoming waves of the soul's memory, Helena read the story about Gayavata. The thread of the Lord of the Red Ray stretched west through Egypt, from some European centers to America, where he appeared as Gayavata about 600 years ago to do the work for coming of the Western nations. Gayavata, the leader, the prophet, the master, the messenger of the White Lodge. The great spirit Gichimonisto at the big council of humanity instructed Gayavata and handed him over the peace pipe. The battle cry calmed away. The warriors washed the war paint from their faces and buried tomahawks on the river bank. 6 Indian tribes united into a confederation, League of the Iroquois tribes. The principle of confederation borrowed from Indians formed the basis of the state structure of the United States of America. The Iroquois symbol was used: 1 arrow, 1 tribe. It is easy to break an arrow, but union cannot be broken. This depiction, an eagle in the center with many arrows, is seen on the US state seal. Helena comprehended life of a new America. She was looking for the sprouts of spiritual knowledge. Mormons, Illinois State. Helena was there in search of this religious sect, but did not find it. Mormons, led by Brigham Young, moved to the Wild West. Helena passed by. New Orleans. Helena became interested in the African voodoo cult. Invocation to the afterlife spirits, sacrifices, prayers, rhythmic drums accompanied by ritualistic dances constituted the foundation of voodoo. But before penetrating into the magic of the Black Temple, Helena heard the Master's voice. Run away from that knowledge offered to you in a chalice made from the heart of your brother. Accepting this chalice, it will be filled by the blood of your own heart. Upon this, experience of Helena's explorations in America came to an end. Finally, with 2 companions, she initiated her journey to India. Eternal Wanderer.